Next, we'd like to welcome Mr. Haruhisa Morimoto for his presentation, who is a Managing Director of Astoria Consulting Group LLC. And the presentation title, Keynote Speech title, is How to Build Successful Social Enterprises.
Hello, how are you? Good, how are you? Before I get started, I want to learn about you. How many of you have relatives who are doing business? Raise your hand. Mike, please. Relatives. Okay, thank you. How many of you have working experience outside of a school? Oh, that's okay enough. Okay.
森さん、パワーが電源が入ってますか？マイクが。
This may be too loud. But, okay. Over the next 60 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about how to build a new business. This is more or less a general lecture on building a business. But at this occasion, I'm going to talk about its application for social entrepreneurship. Okay. You've heard many definitions about social entrepreneurship tonight. So I'm not going to go into details about what this is. Basically, what social entrepreneurship is, use your entrepreneurship skills for something good. And making money is important, but it's not the most important target or objective for starting your business. Of course, making money is important, I say, because your business must be able to sustain itself. Unless you bring in some profits and be able to pay your employees, you don't have a business. So you're building a business, but the application is important. You're doing something good for the society. And in this case, you've heard the word BOP, bottom of pyramid, right? And many of you are studying at this university, right? And many of you are coming from overseas. And you've seen the level of life in Japan so high. It's almost luxurious, right? And knowing what you know, don't you think, I wish I could do better in your home country? Yeah? Your entrepreneurship business starts from this. Okay? Now, please read the definition. It's about 3 pages long. Ashoka Foundation has a definition too. Let me tell you the hard truth about starting a business. There's no such thing as a great new idea. Just new versions of old ideas. I work with investors, venture capital investors, buyout funds. I help them fundraise from institutional investors. That's how I got to know them. And that's how I got to know how they make decisions on good business, bad business to stay away from. And I'm going to cover 10 points that investors use to judge your business. Now, if you know the 10 points and try to include them in your business plan, the likelihood that they're going to think you have a good business is going to improve quite considerably. But that is not to say you need to seek investment. In fact, if you build a business model that is self-sustainable, you don't need outside investment or investors. You may want to work with angel investors. It's the high net worth individuals who's made it in the past and they want to find a company, people where they can put their money and see the results. Now, let me read this to you, okay? Rather, investors have seen dozens of similar ideas by the time you reach them. Rather, the differences come from who will implement the idea the best. So let's suppose you have a business plan and you think this is going to succeed, right? Don't be shy about showing it to people. Because the difference is whether you can execute it and build a business. That's the key. Having an idea is perhaps 30% of the road. Now, to be able to be recognized by the investors, you need this. And you as a person need to be well respected by them, because after all, business plan is a business plan. The minute you start your business, this changes. Everything will change. And you need to redraft your business plan. And investors always count on you to change this. It's your personal trust that counts. Another hard truth, entrepreneurship is not necessarily for everybody. It's probably 5 to 10% of the population who has the skills, who have the guts. And you really need to be talented. So it may be that you may want to get involved in the social entrepreneurship, but not as an entrepreneur, but as a partner. Business idea changes all the time. Grameen Bank, as you know, is a well-known social entrepreneurship business, right? But did you know this bank started out as a bank, not as an NGO? And he's made many mistakes before he found a formula that works. In his case, he started lending money to men first. It didn't work. He later found out it was the housewives who could honor their promises to pay back their loans. So it took him many, many years before he found the business model that we know today. The entrepreneurship is an art of startup. But we can distill the skills involved in the art and sort of build a science out of it. The 10 pointers I'm going to cover today is basically a science of building a business. Let me also share with you how tough it is to be a venture capitalist. A typical VC firm examines about 1,000 business plans and choose the top three plans. It's less than 1% chance that you're going to get picked up by them. Now, for 10 companies they invest, about 5 goes nowhere. In the case of the United States, about 5 of them goes bankrupt. You know, it was pre-screened 3 out of 1,000, yet you go out of business. Now, the remaining 3 to 4 companies, it gives the VC 3 to 4 times the return. Let's suppose you invest $1 million. This business gives back the VC maybe 4 to 5 years, $2 million to $3 million. And every one company out of about 10 is what we call home run deals. And that gives the VC about 10x returns. Now, VC as an investor, venture capitalist, doesn't necessarily spend their own pocket money to invest. They usually get the money from pension funds, insurance companies, and high net worth individuals. And their promise is, in 10-year time, they need to give them back about 5 times the money that they were invested. So they have a very high target. And somehow they make it about 10% of the VCs. The remainder of the VCs, I would say 50% of the VCs don't have a second fund because they were unable to find the formula. Some of the points I'm going to mention, I learned from the VCs while I was trying to build a business plan, write a business plan. That was in the 90s. And I'm one of those who didn't get the money. But at the time when I was writing business plans, I didn't know what they were looking for. All they could tell me was, this was a nice plan, but it wasn't for us. Please come back. But when I was working for a publisher in Hong Kong, private equity publishing company, and I started to interview VCs, that's when I found out how wrong I was in terms of preparing business plans. So I was preparing just notes. Next time I write a business plan, I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to make sure they're going to like this business plan. It so happens when I started my own business, I arrived at the business model that didn't require any investment. But this lecture model was discovered by a school, and that was 8-9 years ago. And ever since, I've been giving this speech at a school or at a lecture hall like this.